Hello and welcome to Wisco Legacy. I'm your host, Corey Kundert. On Wisco Legacy, I talk to interesting, inspiring, and successful people from the great state of Wisconsin and hear all about their journey. You can find me on all the podcast platforms. I also have a video version of each podcast on YouTube. You can follow me along on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I also have a website, wiscolegacy.com. Please like, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hello, I'm Chris Bono. I'm the head wrestling coach at University of Wisconsin, and this is my Wisco Legacy.
Welcome to Wisco Legacy. I'm your host, Corey Kundert. On today's episode, we have the head wrestling coach of the Wisconsin Badgers, Chris Bono. Coach Bono, welcome to Wisco Legacy.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Today, we're going to talk about your journey to Madison, the Badger wrestling program, and the 100-mile race you just completed with your associate head coach, John Reeder. So to get started, what got you into the sport of wrestling?
Oh man, we're going way back.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in Pennsylvania, so it was like a Pop Warner type deal. My brother came home from school, and in his backpack was a piece of paper that, you know, basically said, wrestling sign-ups Wednesday at 7 p.m. And, my mom and dad read that to him, and he said, yeah, I want to go wrestle. So they took him there to sign up, and I tagged along. And, I was too young to really officially join that program, but not too young, with all the age groups that were going on. And long story short is I stayed there when my dad left to go home. And when he came home to pick up my brother, the coach came up to him and basically said, hey, this little guy jumped off the seat, and we needed a partner, and he's doing really good, and pay me $5 more, and we can sign the little guy up too. And my dad gave him $5, and, I guess the rest is kind of history.
Awesome. You eventually moved down to Florida, correct?
Correct.
All right. You were a three-time state champ down in
Correct.
Florida? All right. You ended up going to Iowa State, three-time All-American, national champion. Talk about your time in Iowa State and winning that national title. What was that like?
Yeah, my time at Iowa State was great. It was amazing. I loved it there. I wound up meeting my wife. I got a great education. I stayed there for a long, long time afterward and coached and trained and tried to make Olympic teams. And it was amazing. Winning the national championship was an absolute dream come true. And, I couldn't have done it without the coaches I had there. My teammates are still some of my best friends to this day. So, overall, man, a successful college journey. I think it's what every student athlete, what every wrestler would want out of their college experience. I got. There was a ton of, downfalls and adversity and homesickness and all that stuff. And, it was just, for me, amazing. I was able to go so far away from home, fight through some homesickness, fight through being a terrible wrestler, having terrible results my first couple of years, and being able to persevere. And, I wound up winning national championship, All-American, and making world teams out of that wrestling room in Ames, Iowa. So, for me, my experience there was absolutely amazing.
That's great. Can you talk about that transition from going from athlete to coach? It is a big transition. As an athlete, you're focused a lot on yourself. Transitioning into a coach, you're focused on your athletes. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, if I had to do it over again, I'd do it probably a lot different. But when I got hired, my coach, my mentor, Bobby Douglas, basically told me, we've got the recruiting down, we've got this down. You go win gold medals. You go win gold medals, you go make teams. That's how you're going to help this team. You train with them, you teach them how to work hard, you wrestle with them, and then you go out of this country and you go win gold medals. And that's what I did. I competed and I wrestled and I tried. I didn't win any gold medals at the Worlds or Olympics, but I wrestled every single day, for I don't know how many years. And I trained, and, obviously I did a lot more than that. I got invested in the kids, and I helped them, and I did a lot of office work and things like that. But my main goal was to wrestle every day. And, obviously times have changed a ton, where I don't think you expect a coach now. We have limited resources in terms of you need all hands on deck now with recruiting, and things have gotten really good. But I think I would change things my first couple of years as a what do you call them now? Player/coach.
Yep.
I think that's what I was my first couple of years there. And, I was just following orders from my head coach. But now that I'm on the other side of things as a head coach, and I see, how much more I really probably could have helped the guys at a younger age, and how much more I could have done for the program. I would change a couple of things.
Okay.
But to go back, it's very, very hard. it's hard from going from being teammates to coach.
Mhm.
And it's a delicate thing. But I also think it's a great bridge where these kids, it's like we have a young guy, Seth Gross. He was teammates at some of these. I think it's a great bridge that when these kids are a little afraid to talk or a little afraid to tell you what's going on, they can bridge it through a former teammate who can, tell us really how these kids are feeling and what's going on. And then we can either get to the bottom of it and encourage them or, stay on the right path.
Great. So you eventually became head coach of Tennessee Chattanooga, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. How was that transition to go from, athlete to assistant? You were assistant for about 9 years or so at Iowa State.
You know what? I was still competing actually too. And it was amazing. It was so amazing because everybody said you couldn't do it. I made a world team as a head coach, and everybody said you couldn't do it, but I'm a little different. I'm a little different than that average guy. And I'm not afraid to say that because I am. I'm a little different. When I set my sights on something, right, you get 24 hours to do it. I didn't sleep much, right? My family life suffered. But I set a goal to be the best head coach I could be, to make sure I did everything I could for my student athletes to make them help them reach their goals. But I also wanted to be world Olympic champion. So I had to find time to do those things. And what I'm proud to say is I really truly believe in that year or two that I was doing that. I really truly believe that the program, the kids did not suffer, right? There was never a time when it was like, I need to work out, or, the program was always first. And then, if I had to wrestle at 9 o'clock at night, if my day was that busy, that's when I got my workout center. If I had to get up at 3 a.m. and get my work, that's when I did it. But I never let my training or anything like that affect, my job or of making sure that I really prepared my student athletes.
Great. So I know you spent some time away from the sport of wrestling. You transitioned out. Talk about reasonings why you got out of the sport of wrestling and eventually what brought you back.
Yeah, well, I went back to Iowa State as an assistant coach after being after Chattanooga, and things didn't work out there, and it was a very frustrating time in my life with my competing career was winding down. My coaching career, right? I didn't know what I wanted to do. It was a time when it was like in August or something like that, where, not many jobs were opened up in wrestling. And do I move my family again for like the 20th time? So, I talked to some people outside of the sport and like, what do you think my next move should be? And a lot of them were like, we're selling medical devices and making good money. And so it was kind of like, all right, they said, you do great at it. And I made that, luckily I was able to make that move and met a lot of great people along the way and people that helped me out. And I did really well, selling medical devices. And, but it was a challenge. That wasn't a challenge. It was a challenge more so of, mentally of, Fridays at 5 o'clock. Yeah, I'm done. I don't have to do anything until Monday morning. You know what I mean? And I never in my life had that, Friday, Saturday, Sundays, we were wrestling, we were working, we were recruiting, we were going, traveling. And it kind of mentally, it wore on me. It depressed me. It was like, all right, Sunday at 4 o'clock. I was like, man, I got to go to work on Monday, and I was good. I was good for a good year. And I really enjoyed what I was doing. And then I got not stupid, but I got that itch. I went to the NCAA tournament like I told myself I wouldn't do. I started training some local high school wrestlers. I started training some fighters. Before I knew it, my day was, getting up at 3 o'clock, getting my workout in, being in surgeries all day, getting done at 5:30 at night, 6 o'clock at night, hurrying home, having a quick meal, going to the MMA gym and training local wrestlers and fighters from 7 to 10:30. And I'm like, what am I doing? What is, and I was happy. Like I would have stayed there from 7 to 7 a.m. until I had to go to work. That's how, how happy I was training these fighters and training these kids. And it was like, man, I just think that my calling is to be in coaching. And, I was, I didn't know how I was going to get back in, if I was going to get back in. And luckily enough, I was able to get back in South Dakota State and, and as a head coach, right. That was, could I go back and be an assistant coach somewhere? I don't know if I could have done that. And, now that I got into South Dakota State and, things just kind of took off from there.
It's hard to believe a guy that has so much passion for the sport of wrestling like you kind of cut ties a little bit, came back and got that itch again. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
man. I wouldn't say I got out of it, by choice, right? It was kind
Mhm.
of I'm out. I'm out. What do I do? And I look back on it now and I'm very happy what I did, because that 16, 18 months I was out of wrestling made me who I am today. It made me a better coach. It made me realize the passion I have for this sport, the passion I have for going to see donors, the passion I have for getting down and dirty with these kids and sweating and, recruiting trips where you don't sleep and you drive through the nights. That's my passion. That's what I
Mhm.
want to do and where I want to be. And as I was doing that, before I got out, right, it was almost like you didn't enjoy it. It was like,
Mhm.
oh, I got to do this, or I got to go on the road, you know what I mean? And it was like I was taking advantage of, the best jobs, this is the best job in the world. Being a college coach is the best job in the world. And I was taking it for granted. And then I got out and I realized the passion I have for what I do, is I'll never take a day of work ever again for granted. I'll never take, being around these kids and helping them develop their single leg for granted. Never trying to, be a mentor to these kids and trying to, make sure they accomplish their goals. And I will never take that for granted ever again as long as I live.
So you brought up family a few times. I know you have a wife, you have a couple daughters. Is that correct?
Correct.
Um, and you've moved across the country a few different times. Talk about what family means to you.
Well, it means everything to me, right? At the end of the day, I've been through some tough times, right? Some people don't know about them. And in the grand scheme of things, I've only had a couple of people really by my side through these things, the constants, and that's my
Mhm.
family.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And, I've hurt them a bunch, right? The move from South Dakota to here it scarred my children. I moved one in the middle of her, going into her senior year.
Okay.
And very, very hard. I moved one who was a very good gymnastics, had a great gymnastics place, and she had a future that was unbelievable. And I moved her here, and it didn't work out here, right? I know those things, and it hurt, right? It hurt bad, and but for me, this opportunity has really set our family up and set us up to succeed in life. And it's been wonderful, and I can't thank them enough for trusting me, really, right? I've moved my wife who knows how many times around right when she gets comfortable and has a ton of friends and is into her life and doing things, working jobs, right? We pick up and move. And I'm just thankful that they've been behind me and they've supported me. And life is really starting to be great again here. Both of my kids are now enrolled here at the University of Wisconsin. I get to have lunch with them. They show up in my office to study. I see them almost every single day while they're in college. And I just saw one now before I came here. We were on campus, and she texted me. She said, "Hey, are you busy? I got an hour for lunch." And I met her, had a quick sandwich, and raced back up here to do this podcast. And as I was walking back, it was just like, man, how many people get to have lunch with their college age daughters whenever, how many of them get to see their kids at age 22 years old? And, I'm lucky enough to be able to do that, basically whenever I want, because if I'm at home, I can call them and go to dinner and do that. And to me, that's very, very important. And to me, I owe them a lot for, supporting me through all this stuff.
Yeah, that's phenomenal to be able to go have lunch with your daughter whenever. That's great. I just had my second daughter was born a week and a half ago. Any advice? I have two daughters now. Any advice?
Hey, congratulations. Hey, hold them
Thanks.
tight, man. They
Yeah.
grow up quick. Hold them tight. And, I've missed so much of their stuff due to my career, my wrestling, my coaching. I've missed games. I've missed dance recitals. I've missed graduations. Whenever they ask you on a Sunday or something, when you're laying on the couch watching a football game, do you want to do something? Jump off that couch and go do it with them.
Mhm.
I was selfish when I was training and things like that. Go play catch or kick a soccer ball or do whatever it is. And it's like now like I said, they say, "Hey, I'm free. You want to have lunch?" I jump at the opportunity because I missed a lot throughout their lives. And I'm pretty committed now to try not to miss anything I can. Even when it's not opportune time for me.
Mhm.
Hug them tight. They grow up fast, and try to when you're available, do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it.
Yeah, appreciate the advice, Coach. All right, so let's move on to your move to Wisconsin. What brought you here to Madison?
Oh man, Big Ten. The Big Ten, the facilities, everything about this place, Madison. It's an unbelievable place to live. Raise the kids for what they are, and the school is absolutely amazing. The tradition here is amazing. And then being in the Big Ten Conference, if you want to win a national title as a team, this is the place to do it in this conference. There's not many schools that have done it outside of this conference. And, it's indescribable what you can do here, how high the ceiling is. And when the job opened, and to me, it was very, very intriguing to see how far you could really take this thing at being at this school. And that's what really turned me on about the job, is the ceiling. There really was no ceiling. You can win the national championship right out of Madison, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. Barry Alvarez, the former athletic director, he was a wrestler in high school. Talk about Barry and his legacy.
Yeah, it's amazing. I only got to be around him a little bit. Obviously, he retired, this past summer. But every time I was around him, I was engaged. I learned, and I asked him questions, and he was. It's amazing what just him, his aura, his presence around this building is absolutely amazing. But being around him for a little bit and asking him questions and hanging out with him a couple of times, I would have traded that for the world. There's so many people that probably would want 20 minutes of his time, but hearing his stories, he was a wrestling coach as well too in high school, and he was a police officer. He's got an unbelievable, the amount of stories he has, even as a coach. When you're like, I'm going through this, or I went through this, how would you handle this? Oh, let me tell you about a story. He goes into a story about how he handled it, and it's amazing. And he's not far away. So he's a great resource here. He's amazing. And then our new athletic director is even just as amazing. Chris McIntosh is a two-time state wrestling champion right here in Wisconsin. Number one draft pick football player. He gets it, right? He gets it. He understands coaching. He understands athletes. He understands. He's going to do an amazing job here, and I'm fired up that he's my friend. And we can go up there, and that open door is open, and he's another wonderful resource to be able to bounce ideas off and experiences and things like that.
It's really great to have the backing by the administration for the program. I know when you were at South Dakota State, things weren't pretty when you got there, and you rose that program up to top 12 team. So excited to see what you're going to be doing here in Wisconsin. I know when you first transitioned over to Wisconsin, you and John Reeder, I think, were living in a hotel room, something like that, for quite a while. Talk about diving into recruiting here in Wisconsin, those early days.
Yeah, so those early days, we were in the room 52 days together in a hotel, but it went by quick because we got up early and we didn't come home. We didn't come home until real late. We basically slept there, and it was amazing, right? I mean, we're brothers. We're it doesn't matter. But those days it was hard. It was hard. Those first couple of months were hard. For anybody transitioning, because you want to make sure that your current guys on the team are getting into their training. We had the U.S. Open coming up in 3 weeks after I got the job. Under U20s, it was a competition was going on, right? We wanted to dive in, and we wanted to be able to start recruiting right away. So we're traveling all around, making sure the kids that signed letters of intent were still going to come. Number one, number two, getting on the young kids, showing our face around the state, meeting people, going to outings. And then making sure our families were taken care of back in South Dakota with getting a home. What are our kids doing? How can I get back to see my family? And, obviously I'm saying that's a lot, but every coach has transitioned from one coaching job to another, knows exactly what I'm talking about. And, we signed up for that. So, we knew it was going to be a grind. And for me, and John, it was a 52-day grind until we got our families here and into our homes. And things didn't settle down really, for a good year in terms of, the job and trying to figure all that stuff out too. But, again, we live for chaos, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at our lives. If we're getting too comfortable, we try to figure something out that's chaotic so we can keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Do you want to talk about the impact that Coach Reeder has had on you and the program? You guys have been together for quite a while now.
Yeah, no, he's the best. He's the best, and we've got an unbelievable relationship. It's something you can't really describe, but we're like-minded. I mean, it sounds cliche, but we can finish each other's sentences. We think the same way. He's trustworthy, he's hardworking, his integrity is through the roof, and when he says he's going to do something, he gets it done. And it's amazing. And, for me, I look at him as he's a role model for me, right? For me, for the kids, for everybody. We tell everybody right now, you want to be national champion, just go follow that guy. Every kid that gets here, go follow him. What's he doing? Ask him, you want to work out in the morning? What are you doing tomorrow, coach? You know what I mean? Here's what I'm doing. Come along. And he always says it, come along. You want to come along? Let's go. Or what do you need? I'll be there with you. And it's an amazing relationship. It's awesome to be sharing this journey with him. It was awesome at South Dakota State. We celebrated so many big wins, and we've laughed together, we've cried together, we've been there for each other when family members are passing or things aren't going well, or whatever it is, we know that we can count on each other to do anything. And I think that's an unbelievable relationship. And it's like we said, I wouldn't want to be going through this with anybody else.
Yeah, he's Coach Reeder's such a phenomenal, inspirational guy. His win the day tweets almost every day get you fired up. So
right.
It'd be awesome to be around him day in and day out. I know you're a great promoter for your programs at South Dakota State. You were packing their facility here in Wisconsin. You're seeing increasing numbers here in the field house. What did you learn at South Dakota State that you brought here to Wisconsin?
Well, it's about relationships. Everything's about relationships. And, I learned that when I was selling medical devices. It's the relationships with the doctors that get you the business. And here it's no different in our sport. It's all about relationships, right? You build trustworthy relationships, people will support you. And you know what I really attribute to, like, it's that stray dog. You know what I mean? You come in, you see that stray dog, they don't trust you right away, right? They've heard things about you. They're going to be skeptical. They've listened to other people talk about you. And then all of a sudden you get to meet people and you share your vision, and, you see success, right? Success is a big part of marketing, right? You can market all you want, but if you don't have a good team, people aren't going to come watch you. You know what I mean? So that's why I say winning is your biggest marketing tool. But I think at South Dakota State, it was more about the relationships that we built. We had luncheons with people. We never said no to a speaking engagement, and it was a small community. So, you'd see them at the supermarket, you'd see them at the gas station, you'd see people all the time. And that's what's cool, because you could, you'd see them, you're at the coffee shop, you get a cup of coffee, you can spend 15 minutes with somebody. Here in Madison, it's a little different because it's such a big place. That you don't get to see the same people over and over and over again. You only see them like at a wrestling match, or you only see them maybe at one of your outings, or, or passing by at a football game, but in South Dakota State, we really developed relationships. And you know what? I took this for granted, right? When I left South Dakota State and came here, I was like, oh, it's going to be right away. Well, it has now been 3 years, and really it hasn't, because COVID really took a year and a half away from it. But it's really, and things are just now starting to really fall into place in terms of boosters, and our RTC is taking off, and we're having success in all different areas of our program. And I go back and I look through all my notes, and I'm like, it wasn't until year 4 at South Dakota State that we really had any success in any area. We had our first golf outing in South Dakota State, right? I had 6 foursomes. You know what I mean? When I left, yeah. We had 40 foursomes, and the country club was telling us we couldn't have any more. And we still were, the next year we had 44. You know what I'm saying? We would just do it anyway. And we'd keep bringing them in because we would never tell anybody no. And so now when I look through my notes, I'm like, year 4 is when it all really, and it's the same thing that's starting to happen here now, right? Because people, like I tell you, it's like that stray dog. Now they've been around us long enough. They see, that we are working hard. They see our integrity. They see that we're building a program. Our student athletes are getting better. They're improving. Everything, is on the upswing now. The recruits we're bringing in, and, it takes I hate to say that every coach wants to win from the day they start. Every coach wants to have 1 million supporters from the day they start, but it just doesn't work like that. You got to gain some trust and respect. And, we're just starting to, we're able to do that.
That's great. So you've talked a lot about the resources that UW-Madison has. It's a huge benefit of being in the Big Ten. Facilities are great here in Madison. What are some of the other benefits or resources that the university provides that are really beneficial to the wrestling program? Well,
it's the university really is really cares about, right, the student athlete. There is nothing that the student athlete, the student athlete that's what we're here for, right? Graduation, compete for championships and do it the right way, and so really it's amazing, right. So mental health is an unbelievable resource here, right? When you talk about mental health, we talk about the anxiety, the depression, things like that, but we also what we don't really focus on, and something the university is big on too, is we have a mindfulness trainer, right? Maybe your competition anxiety, what are you thinking before you wrestle? So we have sports psychologists, we have mindfulness training. So you've got it all here, mental health. And that's a big, big issue here. And it's a great issue. I'm so happy that we have a ton of support for that mental health side of things, because, man, we're dealing with 18-year-old kids. And who knows, right? I mean, losing a girlfriend, losing a dog, losing, where they could go, being away from home, losing a wrestling match, hurting a knee. You never know where that's going to spiral to. And I'm just glad that the university, the athletic department has, a ton of people in place to take care of not your physical injuries, right? Those will heal, but mentally, on that side is a big, big resource. And then again, nutrition and recovery here is, again, something the athletic department really, really takes care of these student athletes on, in terms of their food and their shakes and their, all that stuff is just amazing here at the university. And, I think our nutrition program, I know our nutrition program is number one in the country. And then you throw in the recovery, right? You go down in our training room, the underwater, jogging tanks and the cold plunges and the hot tubs and the recovery boots, and, the university, the athletic department spares no expense on recovery. And, those are kind of just three of the things that, really sticks out in my mind that our guys really, really take advantage of, is nutrition, recovery, and that mental health side of things. Again, and I say mental health, and people tend to shy away from that subject a little bit, because nobody wants to admit I got anxiety or I got depression. But that aside, it's also more of the, how can I think better thoughts before I wrestle, or when I'm out on the mat, what am I thinking, and things like that. So it's two kind of different components there, but both very, very important in young people's lives.
Yeah, I think back to my time competing. I never competed at a high level in wrestling. I was a 4-year starter in high school, but didn't make state or anything like that. But I know if I would have had some training on the mental health side, the sports psychology side, it would have helped a lot. So awesome that your athletes are utilizing that stuff. All right, so now I want to talk about recruiting. One of your big jobs here in Wisconsin is to essentially sell student athletes to come to Madison. Wisconsin's near the top usually in college town rankings and stuff like that. Why do you think that is, and what makes Madison special?
Well, first off, it's beautiful, right? Year round, even in the winter, it's amazing. There's so many things to do, whether it's a spring, summer, winter. It's an amazing town, right? It's, I can't even, you can fish, you can drive 5 miles and you're out in the woods hunting. You can, there's something for everybody, and that's, whether you want to play video games, whether you want to go laser tag, there's something for everybody in this town. Number one, to do, and number two, right, the beauty. Our campus is the most beautiful campus I've ever seen. In between those two lakes it's just breathtaking, right? And then you talk about, the number one college sports town in America, right? You see our basketball games, our hockey matches, our soccer games, forget football, put football aside. We know what that's about, but everything else, walking into a women's hockey game is amazing. Going to watch the women's softball team play is amazing. It's a party. Going out watching our women, sold out, field house to watch our volleyball team is amazing. So in terms of a sports town, if you're into that college sports, there is no better place to be, and then you throw in just how beautiful it is, and how much there's always something to do outside of wrestling and outside of going to school here. It's crazy. And then you throw in the education, right? How can we forget about that? This place is, it's not nationally known. This W is worldwide. You know what I mean? Worldwide, people come in from all over the world to go to school at the University of Wisconsin. And the education is second to none. The campus is second to none. And, it's breathtaking. And if people are listening, have never seen this place, you got to get here and you got to check it out. And then you got to go to one of our college sporting events. And I think that anybody that does that will be a fan of this place.
Absolutely. You see a Badger football program on national TV. People don't realize we have Lake Monona, Lake Mendota, the whole isthmus there. It's unreal. Such a beautiful place. To you, what does it mean to be a Wisconsin Badger?
Well, to me, well, first off, it's an honor, right? It's something that I will, right? It's something that it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be a Wisconsin Badger. Something I would never take for granted. There were so many people that would want to be in my shoes right now just to be a Wisconsin Badger. And I tell our athletes that right now. There are so many people that would want to be in your shoes, putting that W on their chest. And there's so many people. I mean, think about the people that don't even get into school here. I don't know the number,
Mm-hmm.
but what someone would give to be just a student here is amazing. So for me to be a Badger, it's about honor. It's about integrity. It's about doing the right thing, right? It's our hustle, effort, attitude, and everything you do in life. And that's something that we really want to associate our program with. And to be a Badger, that's what that means to me.
Great. I know the high school wrestling scene in Wisconsin is increasing. It's getting better. I know you recruit both in-state and out-of-state athletes, obviously. What do you look for in recruit?
Well, we look first off, right? You got to look at the academic side of things. You got to be motivated academically. You can't just think you're going to walk in here and be a national champ without getting through school. So the first thing we do look at is academics, and obviously their wrestling skills turn us on to them. But then the first thing we say is, what's their transcripts look like? And then what we also look at is how much do you compete? We like people that want to compete. And I think that's a big thing. Even if you're out there running, do you compete? Are you okay letting someone pass you up the last half mile? So when we recruit a lot in person, we really study how somebody warms up, how somebody cools down. What do they do after the match? Do they throw a temper tantrum, right? Or do they get right into their cool down? Or so we look a lot like that when we're recruiting. But also, you got to be a really good person. We want to be around good people, right? I love coming to work because we're surrounded by great people and great kids. And then the last thing is we don't want to babysit kids, right? We don't want to have to go knock on your dorm room to get you out of bed to come to practice, right? You got to be motivated. You got to want to be the best version of yourself every single day. And when we find kids like that, man, it's a sprint, right? We're on them like a dog on a bone, and because it's kind of hard to find all those qualities in one person. And when we do, it's game on. And you know what? We've been doing that for 4 years here now, 3 years. And we've got some wonderful, wonderful kids that we absolutely love. And, we can't wait. We can't wait to see them, in 25 years from now, what kind of, fathers and husbands and, and people they turn out to be.
The first person that comes to mind when you're talking about that is former number one ranked wrestler in the country, Braxton Amos. Can you talk about what it was like getting that commitment from him?
Yeah, you know what we're proud about is we did everything we could to get that kid, right? We have so many, we have 7, contacts. We can actually do them. We used all 7 of our contacts. We knew he was special. And what do I mean? But I don't mean wrestling. I don't care about his wrestling accolades. He's a special kid. The way he treats people, the way he treats his parents, the way he's loved by other people. When we went to his high school and guidance counselors are hugging him and teachers are loving on him, right? There's something special. That means he's treating them right. That means there's something right about that. Right. Then you throw in there that he's the best wrestler in the country, right? It's like, man, this is hitting the lottery. And so he is a special, special person. I encourage everybody to get to know him on that level, not just as the wrestler that he is, because he is, he's even a better person than he is a wrestler. And it's, so once we talked to him and once we, established that relationship, it was like, man, this is our guy. This is what I want, this is what we want out of everybody. This kid is going to come to Madison and he's going to, be a program changer, the culture of our program. Heck, the culture, he's going to change. He could change the university, and he's that kind of kid. So, to get that commitment, man, I'll never forget it. We were at, we were at his high school. I was at his high school football game and it was getting, it was our last visit, last thing we could do. And, when we went out there, he committed on a scoreboard, right? He already had I don't know if it was I forget if it was pre-recorded or he put a hat on or something like that on the field. And, right then it was, it brought tears to my eyes that, we were able to bring this kid to Madison.
That's phenomenal. I'm so happy to see him in Madison, and what he's done before he's even put that Badger singlet on is phenomenal. junior freestyle world champion. He got a bronze medal on Greco. Double medal in one weekend is phenomenal. So excited to see him with that motion W. We're now in an age where name, image, and likeness is part of college sports. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's wonderful, right? I think these kids, can do what they want now. I mean, go make some money if they can make some money. The problem is, that I see is everybody thinks they're going to make millions or hundreds of thousands, right? And it's not going to be like that. There's going to be a few that can do that in the bigger sports, but I don't know. I see kids chasing it. You know what I mean? I see kids chasing, whatever they're chasing, selling t-shirts and getting free product and, things like that, whereas I think that they need to, once they start winning and once they start getting on national championship teams, I think all that's going to come right in our sport. I love it. Football can, be sponsored by barbecue restaurant. I think it's great, right? I mean, it's awesome to see, our offensive line in a commercial for a barbecue joint. It's great. It's great for these kids to be able to, get free meals and do this and that. They deserve it. The people that see that and they're like, they don't deserve it. They don't see the work that these kids do and the suffering and the lack of, I mean, I don't want to say that because our kids eat well and they do that, but we're not some of them suffer. Walk-ons are paying their own way. Walk-ons are, if someone like that gets an NLI deal where they can take care of their schooling or they can eat and do that. I love it. I think it's great for these kids. And, the way they go about it, I hope they go about it the right way. And every single one of them, I hope every single athlete in this country can get something that betters their lives. That would be amazing.
Yeah, it does bring a different perspective on coaching, I guess. That's probably something you never really thought you'd be dealing with. But it is exciting for people to have the opportunity to make a little money. Let's just hope everybody stays focused on the task ahead of them.
There you go. That's true.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to transition here to the 100-mile run. Both you and Coach Reeder recently completed a 100-mile run. It was phenomenal following along on the journey, your training sessions, breaking a couple treadmills, it sounds like. Let's talk about the deep connection you made to Coach Reeder through that process.
Well, I'll tell you, we've talked a lot about this, and every time you talk about it, it makes you appreciate him a little more too. And what really happened was, and the reason why we were able to finish was, you go from thinking about you, right, to thinking about the guy you're with. And so you're not going to leave your brother behind. When you're feeling good, I was more concerned about him than I was about myself. And, if I thought about myself at that time, I probably would have quit. Right. When I saw a pack of fluid on my, on my leg, and when I looked down at my knee and it was, the size of a basketball, but I wasn't concerned about me. I was concerned about him because he thought his shins were broken and he's throwing up and he's cramping up. But I had to worry about my buddy. I had to make sure my buddy was okay. And I think that when you start diving that deep into, being selfless and really thinking about, this is your guy, this is your number one, your ride or die. Right. And we just had some serious moments out there, guy to guy, friend to friend, brother to brother, that really drew us close. Like, man, a lot of it was when we it was everything. It was pulling each other out of the gutter, to get going. It was yelling at each other a little bit. And then it was like, man, we're going to do this. And we did it together, and so there were so many moments out there that, we connected on a different level. And, and it's something no one can ever take away from us, and something that, it will be, him and I, the rest of our lives together, we can talk about.
Yeah. So the 100-mile run actually came through my hometown of Monroe. I know.
Oh, all right. Yeah, man. They had a great aid station.
That's awesome. Wrestling changed my life. You were talking about it on there a few weeks ago. I think the concrete part of it was down in my hometown. We had some construction going around out there.
That's it. Was that was the hills? I was coming down the hills right there. So yeah. Is Monroe like is Monroe about 3 miles from Dot's Tavern?
Yeah. No. Monroe is actually closer to the border of Illinois.
So it was the other way. Okay. Yep. Okay. All right.
Yep. You want to talk about some of the struggles, like some of the bigger moments on the run that you went through?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where to begin because there was a lot of them. Mile 30 was a big moment when, we kind of let our mentor get away from us, and it was just him and I, John and I, and we were feeling terrible. That was a big moment. Like, I don't know if we can do this, and that's when we made it. We made it to Dot's Tavern, and then we started coming back, and that was the first time we were able to, at mile 40 was the first time we were able to, like, to see our wives and kids, and it was like a huge pick me up for us. But that was a struggle. And then when I first realized, for me personally, when I first realized how I looked down and I was bleeding very, very bad, from my waist down, and I was like, this isn't good. And I didn't, put enough lube and things like that throughout the race. That was another, and that was like, I don't know, 45, 50 miles was when it got really bad. In terms of, the blood, the bleeding and everything, now my shorts are sticking to me, and things like that. But a lot of my bad moments, were when John was bad, because I was worried about him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so when, in that middle of the night, when his wife was with us, that was bad. That was the worst stretch. Mile 70 to 80 was the worst stretch, because it was dark. We had no lights, and I couldn't keep up, right? Walking and jogging with these guys, but John kind of couldn't stand up. You know what I mean? Like, he was going, but it was wobbling and wearing and dipping and diving and grabbing them. And you know what I mean? And I could see it all, but I couldn't catch up. You know what I mean? So I was like, man, if he goes down, it's over. We're over. And so I had to think about that, but I couldn't get there. I couldn't move. I couldn't do that. So it was tough. It was tough. And then, towards the end, trying to eat and stuff was almost impossible. And then the aftermath, right? No one really talks about. I think the toughest part of the whole thing was after the race, the next day, and of not knowing what our bodies, I didn't know I honestly had no idea my body was going to be like that. I'd never, I couldn't walk, and I had a fever for, 3-4 days as my body was trying to fight. I was scared. Obviously, you think you got COVID, number one, and number two, you think that you're, little rhabdo, your urine's dark brown, you're like, wow, when do I go to the hospital here? Mm-hmm. And luckily I had a lot of good advice. Our mentor Pete stayed there for another day with us, and I hung out with him the whole day. And he's like, listen, we got to get in the hot tub. We got to get in the cold tub. And it was amazing, right? It was like almost recovery. You know what I mean? The next day I was walking, and but it brings tears to my eyes to this day. It was an unbelievable experience. The pain and the suffering, the shared suffering. You were with someone, with 100 and some other people sharing the same pain. It's very, very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The mentality it takes to not only sign up to do it, but to go through with it, is phenomenal. I mean, it sounded like you had to do down, back on the path.
Where would we go? Down, back, down, back,
okay.
down.
Okay. So that last turn had to be really tough to get through.
Well, the last turn, no. Yeah. So mile 7, that was mile 70.
Okay.
So we had about 31 miles back because of that detour. Mm-hmm. We actually ran like 101.4. So but that last 70. And like I said, for me, my mentality, I didn't think anything different. I said this many, many times, is when I hit mile 70, it was over. We were completing it. We only got to go back. We just ran 70 miles. Mm-hmm. Right. But then I looked at John. It was very, very bad in him. And then when we came to that aid station at mile 70, it was like a war zone. People throwing up, people laying down, moaning, people have their feet in the air getting rubbed. I'm like, what is going on? How mm-hmm. They're not getting back out there. You know what I mean? I was like, this is, I was like, and what I found out was, obviously that was the starting line too, right? That was mile 0. And then that was mile 70. And mm-hmm. So that's where everybody quits, because their cars are there. There's a lot of food there. There's a lot, you can have a beer. And I didn't know that. And I'm glad I didn't know that, mm-hmm. And I keep saying the unknowns of this whole race is what got me through it, right? All I was told was start here and go run 100 miles, right? And if you know me, I'm really good at, when someone tells me to do something, I might bitch and complain and whine and do it. But when they say do it and go here, go there, I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. At all costs. And for me, I didn't know if you're going to quit, you do it at mile 70, you know what I mean? Because your car's there and you can be done. And so mile 70, when we made that turn, man, I was juiced. I was singing songs. I was, I think I changed a shirt. I didn't feel good, but mentally I felt great. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know what, I think when I think about all this in this race, mentally, I was there 90% of the time. And I think that really got me through it. It was just like, physically, you couldn't do it. Like, come on, put your foot up over that curb. And I couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because mentally, we were not stopping. I mean, it was made up. We are not stopping. But it got scary because it was going to the point where I cannot lift my feet up. You know, my knee, I can't bend my leg anymore. I can't bend over. I physically, and people might say he's full of crap. And I'm telling you, I could not bend over to tie my shoe or untie it. You know what I mean? I could not bend my leg. Trying to put my butt to my heel was like, there was no way that was happening. But mentally, it was like, I'm going to finish. I'm going to do this. I'm just, and I was always good mentally. I never really got too, I saw some things a couple of times that weren't really there. I mean, I wasn't really ever dizzy, but it was, I wasn't there for a little bit, which was, I think, good. But,
yeah, a life-changing experience for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. And I know you talked on Wrestling Changed My Life about it kind of changed your perspective on life. You talk about that?
Did it ever, just stopping and enjoying the little things. I've always been the guy that is what's next. Right. And I look back at my life, man, and I've missed some wonderful times because when it's happened, I've moved to the next thing already. Right. So for me now, it's like the little things really, really, and it's not that I've consciously thought about this. It's just the little things now for me are I stop and smell the roses. You know what I mean? When that sun's, I pull over on the side of the road now for 5 minutes and watch the sun come up a little bit more. You know what I mean? Or if I'm watching the sunset, I'll stop. I will stop and watch the sun go down, because it's those things and the thoughts you have while that's going on, man, they've ranged from, seeing my team win a national title to watching my daughter someday get married, to watching them graduate, to, sitting with my wife when we're old and gray, right? The things of, being with my family, my parents, the things the thoughts I've had in these little moments have been stuff I've never thought about. And it's, is it the race? Is it the perspective of, we're going to do this until we died and I was willing to die to finish, you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know what it is, but it's changed me in a way that I really enjoy, because I'm enjoying some things that I never really would have.
Great. All right. So let's do some rapid fire questions about Wisconsin. I got 3 questions for you. First thing that comes to mind. What's your favorite restaurant in the greater Madison area?
Vino.
All right. What's your favorite local event here in Wisconsin?
The Ironman Triathlon.
Awesome. Finally, where's your favorite place to hang out in Wisconsin besides the wrestling room and the field house?
My favorite place to hang out. Well, I do like hanging out on the terrace. I like hanging out at 3 Foot Bay on the lake. But most of all, I like sitting in my backyard now. I've got a hot tub and I've got a nice porch and a TV out there. And, when that sun's rising in the morning, that's my go-to.
That's awesome. All right. Final question for you, Coach. When all is said and done, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Oh, well, I just want to leave behind that, people will, first of all, say that nobody outworked this guy, and I want to make sure that they say that he was a caring person. I've got a reputation out there of being, hard and this and that, but the people that really know me, I want to make sure that they can spread the word that I love my kids, right? I love these guys. I love everybody on my team. And I want, hopefully everybody knows that I was willing to do anything for anybody to help them accomplish their goals and that we did it the right way. And that, I gave my best hustle, effort, and attitude in every area of my life. And I let the chips fall wherever, and that nobody in this world enjoyed life more than me. That's what I'm striving for.
That's great. Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on to Wisco Legacy.
Thanks. All right. You got it, brother. Anytime.